Imagine this. You've been dreaming of studying in the UK for years. You've spent countless nights researching the best universities, figuring out how to manage your finances, and maybe even picking out the perfect outfit for your first day at Oxford or Cambridge. You're already imagining the bustling streets of London, the charming accents, the historical landmarks, and then, bam! The news hits. Foreign student visa applications plummet for UK universities. Wait, what? Are we being pranked here? You thought this was the land of opportunity, the place where students from every corner of the globe flock to pursue their academic dreams. But now, fewer people are packing their bags for the UK, and it's causing quite the stir. So, what's going on? Well, buckle up because we're about to dive into the whirlwind of why the UK is no longer the top pick for international students. And trust me, it's not just the weather that's scaring them off. Let's start by understanding just how significant this drop is. We're talking about a serious dip in the number of international students applying for visas to study at UK universities. At first glance, you'd think this is a fluke, right? Maybe it's just a bad year. But no, folks, the trend is real. The numbers are dropping, and the universities are starting to notice. I mean, how bad is it? Universities that once thrived on the financial support of international students are now scrambling to find ways to fill those empty lecture halls. It's not just the universities feeling the pinch. The entire UK economy could be impacted. After all, international students contribute billions each year through tuition fees, rent, and, let's not forget, spending on fish and chips. So why then are students turning away from the UK in droves? Well, let's get into it. You've probably heard of Brexit by now. Oh, the glorious saga that was supposed to make the UK stronger, more independent. But it also left behind a messy pile of regulations that are now causing more harm than good, especially when it comes to international students. Imagine being a student from Europe who could hop on a plane to the UK without a second thought, only to find out now that you need to jump through a pile of visa hoops just to study. Not exactly the welcoming open arms you were expecting, right? For many students, this change has made the UK seem more like a bureaucratic nightmare than a haven for higher education. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about the rising costs. It used to be that the UK was the go-to destination for affordable yet world-class education. But now, tuition fees have skyrocketed, and the cost of living in major cities like London is enough to make even the bravest of students second-guess their plans. It's not just about getting into a top university, it's about being able to afford rent, food, and the occasional pint at the pub. The dream of studying in the UK is starting to feel more like a nightmare for many international students who have to face not only the steep tuition fees, but also the ever-increasing costs of basic living expenses. And as other countries like Canada and Australia offer more competitive pricing, it's becoming harder for the UK to justify those hefty bills. Now let's talk about the visa process. If you've ever tried to apply for a visa, you know it's not exactly a walk in the park. But for international students hoping to study in the UK, it's become downright treacherous. The process has become more complicated, more time-consuming, and let's not forget, there's always that lingering worry that your application might get rejected for reasons you didn't see coming. While other countries have streamlined their visa procedures to make the process as smooth as possible, the UK seems to be stuck in a never-ending cycle of paperwork and confusion. Imagine making the decision to leave your home country, invest in an education, and pack up your life, all while waiting for a visa approval that may or may not come through. It's a gamble, and not one that many students are willing to take anymore. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are still international students who are choosing the UK, but they're fewer and further between. And here's the kicker. Those who are still coming are facing some stiff competition. Other countries like the US, Canada, and Australia have stepped up their game, offering not only more affordable tuition, but also post-graduation work opportunities, making them more attractive options. So, while the UK is over here struggling to fill its university seats, other countries are throwing out the welcome mat and rolling out the red carpet. And then there's the elephant in the room: political instability. The UK is no stranger to political drama, but since Brexit, it's been a roller coaster of uncertainty. Between the trade deals, the shifting relationships with other countries, and the constant upheaval, it's no surprise that some international student, the UK, once the undeniable favorite for students all over the world, is now grappling with the reality that it's no longer the only game in town. And while it's trying to find ways to bounce back, there's a bigger question at play here. What's next for those students who once had the UK at the top of their list? Let's talk about some of those other destinations. Because let's be honest, they're not sitting idly by. They've been keeping a close eye on what's been happening in the UK, and they're ready to pounce. Let's start with Canada, shall we? I mean, if there was ever a country to sweep in and steal the UK's crown, it's Canada. With their clear, straightforward immigration policies and a reputation for being downright friendly, Canada has quickly become a top choice for international students. Oh, and did I mention the relatively affordable tuition? Add to that the fact that Canada's student visa process is as smooth as butter, and you can see why students are flocking to the Great White North in droves.